Designer Notes, Subject 93. It's small, old, and in gold. Cartier makes things that normally won't work for me, but it does, some way and somehow. The magical machines created by Cartier, as much as they hide things, reveals so much about the brand. Let's unveil some of their tricks. Like, comment, and subscribe for content you'd like to see next. Follow us at Instagram at DesignAtelier Aruba for behind-the-scenes content. Email us at designatelierviewer@gmail.com. Cartier is one of those brands that is very well known to the public. Most view this company as a high-end luxury brand specializing on jewelry and women's accessories. In the past few years, the brand is getting recognized for its watchmaking pedigree. Along with Piaget and Bulgari, Cartier is considered by many as part of this horological trinity of jewelers. In 2021, they released a slew of iconic watches that highlights Cartier's panache and technical artistry. First is the iconic watch in the fold of Cartier, the Tank. This year, Cartier released new models for the Tank Must, featuring the new solar beat movement. With this new solar quartz watch, Cartier is leading the charge of true luxury solar-powered timepieces. There are also new colorways for the Tank Louis, which is very much welcome to watch fans. The Cartier Santos also got some new models in this collection, expanding this other well-recognized timepiece from Cartier, with beautiful colors and elegantly gem-set versions. It's rare for any watch brand to have two iconic models in their catalog, and Cartier reminds us that it's one of them. They also released some unique pieces from the Ballon Bleu de Cartier, which are also handsome sports watches that are deserving of their own attention. The Pasha chronograph that embodied the bold and sophisticated taste. And they bought back the Cloche de Cartier, the quintessential wristwatch / table clock we all never knew. Those are all the interesting releases from Cartier that we want to briefly mention. The really interesting things from Cartier that we really want to talk about is their fine watchmaking outfit. These pieces firmly places Cartier at the very top plateau of jewelry brands that also happens to be great horologically. I've always been fascinated by mystery dials on watches. Mystery dials are watch faces that utilize sheets of glass to mount the hands of the watch. Let's begin with the Roton de Cartier Mysterious Hour. Watchmakers through the years came up with imaginative ways to display time using clear discs, but Cartier arguably makes the most mesmerizing of them all. While many brands are content or only has the ability for only one or two discs, Cartier approaches this a step further by displaying the hands through the glass front and back. This makes it seem that their hands are floating in thin air. Most watches would still mount their discs at the center of the dial, but Cartier uses a rail system at the peripheral of the disc. This would mean that both the hour and minute hands would need to have their own discs. It sounds and looks very simple in concept, but very hard to execute. Cartier wanted to have a truly transparent effect without any visual evidence of mounts from the movement. This is why Cartier had to design the movement around the mystery dial. Of course, the movement is still visible from the back, giving you a glimpse of the artistry from Cartier's atelier. Cartier even released a skeletonized version of the mystery hour to tease all of us of how the movement works. Well, just enough at least. They still hid the rims of the mystery dial, preserving the mysterious effect. Next is the Roton de Cartier Mysterious Double Tourbillon. Tourbillons are feats among themselves, but paired with Cartier's expertise in mysterious contraptions, the effect is simply glorious. A tourbillon, however impractical it is now on a wristwatch, is an exhibition of a watchmaker's ability to turn an oscillating mass within a cage. This double tourbillon not only rotates as a whole cage escapement, but it also revolves around this mystery dial. Now, mount this in sheets of glass and the difficulty exponentially increases. Keep in mind too that this escapement still needs to provide regulation to the whole watch. And here's how they did it. The first sheet of glass is where the tourbillon is mounted to the watch. As much as it looks like it's revolving around the glass, it's simply pivoting on this central point of the glass sheet. Since it's one single point on the glass, it achieves the illusion that it's floating within its enclosure. This is the disc that likely turns every 5 minutes, providing the orbiting action of the tourbillon. This central point is also where a second sheet rotates with the power from the escapement. This transfers the regulated power of the mainspring back to the watch. Think of this as a toothed gear that happens to be a glass disc as well. You can even see the evidence of these two discs from the walls of the tourbillon's aperture. This is one power-hungry complication. Every gram of weight is crucial to its function and accuracy. Cartier had to manufacture this complication from titanium to minimize its weight down to just 0.28 grams. But Cartier didn't stop there. This watch is also sporting a Geneva hallmark, a much coveted seal of approval achieved by only a few watchmakers. And finally, the Roton de Cartier Astromysterieux. We've seen how Cartier levitated the hands and the escapement within a watch dial, but the prestige of their show-stopping act is the levitation of practically the whole movement. Enter the Astromysterieux. Displaying the whole movement and spinning them around is not a new thing. Ulysse Nardin's The Freak is more likely the watch that comes to mind about orbiting movements. The caliber completes a full rotation on the dial in an hour instead of the traditional tourbillon rotation of 1 minute. While the Freak mounts most of its movement on an axis serving as the minute hand, Ulysse Nardin, however, hides the massive mainspring behind the dial. The Astromysterieux takes this a level up by mounting the mainspring also on the minute hand and then clearing out the dial by placing everything on sapphire discs. You can actually see the mainspring barrel, gear train, and time-setting mechanism all mounted at the center of this minute hand. Seeing really is the main objective of this timepiece, and all the effort went into designing the visual impact of the mystery dial. Cartier achieved this by utilizing 3 separate discs for the movement. The first disc is where the hour hand resides. This would mean that some of the gears are hidden on the peripheral of the dial, possibly to save more space from the center of the dial that's occupied by the carriage and bridges. Most of the heavy lifting is done on the second disc. The mainspring, escapement, and gear trains are all stacked on this sapphire sheet. The third disc houses the patented unique timing mechanism that provides winding positions, one for winding the mainspring and the other for rotating the minute hand and setting the time. And finally, a fourth disc acts as the base plate for the whole movement. It is truly an ingenious way of telling the time and a fascinating design to see from behind the curtain, which in this case is the chapter ring. Cartier is very much a fine jewelry brand that moonlights as a horological magician. The brand's clever use of glass and gears is a fascinating display of watchmaking and even brand direction. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it wants to do. Even when you lift the veil over the secret of how they achieve these engineering marvels, you're not left with a sinking feeling like a spoiled movie plot. You're instead more appreciative of what they did behind the scenes to pull off the show. It's a true entertainer at heart, and we're eager to see its next act.